The strangest new combat vehicle in the Marine Corps inventory launches from a ship, swims through open ocean, crawls onto a hostile beach, and opens fire with a 30mm cannon with a 92% first-round hit rate at 2 kilometers. The ACV-30 is not just a transport. It is a swimming, armored gun vehicle purpose-built for modern amphibious warfare. And the reason the Marines need something this absurd starts with a fleet that was literally falling apart. 40 years of saltwater, sand, and combat deployments left the assault amphibious vehicle fleet in a state no amount of wrench turning could hide. Mechanics faced hulls pitted with corrosion, wiring harnesses that crumbled in their hands, and transmissions older than most of the Marines they carried. By the end of the 2010s, the average AAV had seen 4 decades of hard use, with some vehicles pushing past 45 years in service. Parts inventories shrank as original suppliers disappeared, forcing maintenance teams to cannibalize sidelined vehicles just to keep others running. Even routine repairs meant delays, weeks or months waiting for a critical component to surface on the secondary market. The toll showed up on readiness reports and in the grim statistics of safety investigations. On multiple occasions, assault amphibious vehicles suffered catastrophic mechanical failures during training exercises. Engines seized mid-transit, bilge pumps failed in open water, and aging seals let seawater pour into troop compartments. In 2020, a single incident off the coast of California claimed 8 Marines and a sailor when a decades-old assault amphibious vehicle sank before reaching shore. That tragedy was the final warning, and the Marine Corps grounded the entire fleet for months, then imposed new restrictions that made large-scale amphibious training nearly impossible. In the maintenance bays, Marines did what they could, patching rusted armor, fabricating parts, and tracking leaks with grease pencils. But the core problem was baked into the metal. The AAV design, conceived in the 1970s, could not meet the survivability or reliability demands of modern warfare. Every day spent coaxing another mile from a failing vehicle increased the risk to crews and undermined the Corps' ability to project force from ship to shore. By 2020, the need for a replacement was no longer a question of modernization. It was a matter of operational survival. On November 13, 2020, the Marine Corps declared the Amphibious Combat Vehicle ready for initial operational use. This milestone, known as Initial Operational Capability, meant the baseline ACVP variant could now be fielded to units for real-world training and limited missions. Less than a month later, on December 8, 2020, the Corps committed to full-rate production. The decision authorized the industrial base to ramp up from pilot lots to sustained serial manufacture, no longer a test project, but a major procurement line. Behind the scenes, the program manager for Advanced Amphibious Assault, along with budget analysts and acquisition officers, now faced the reality of building out an entire new fleet. The official acquisition objective, as recorded in the program's master specification, calls for 632 ACVs. That figure covers every planned variant: personnel carriers, command and control nodes, cannon-armed fire support, and recovery vehicles. It is an ambitious number, meant to replace the entire legacy AAV inventory and equip the Corps for distributed operations across the globe. But with each vehicle costing several $million, the scale of the buy brought immediate fiscal pressure. Congressional appropriators began scrutinizing the program's out-year funding, and internal budget documents warned that full-rate production, especially for the more complex ACV-30 gun variant, would hinge on annual appropriations. By early 2021, the Corps had contracts in place for the first 72 full-rate production vehicles, with acceptance and fielding scheduled to ramp up through 2024. Yet every planning chart carried a footnote: the full 632 vehicle objective would only be possible if future budgets kept pace. For the Marines, the pivot from crisis to commitment was real, but the scale of the program meant every funding cycle now carried operational consequences. The ACV was no longer an experiment. It was the backbone of the next era of amphibious warfare, with every vehicle representing a piece of that bed. Naval planners drew a hard line in the doctrine. Amphibious vehicles must launch from at least 12 nautical miles offshore. That distance is not arbitrary. It is the minimum standoff needed to keep ships beyond the reach of most modern coastal anti-ship missiles. But it is also a brutal demand for any armored vehicle expected to swim. Every extra mile offshore means more exposure to unpredictable sea conditions and more pressure on engineering. The Marines require these vehicles to survive and maneuver in Sea State 3. That includes waves up to 4 feet, wind gusts, and rolling swells that can swamp lesser craft. Naval analysts have pointed out that in these conditions, even minor design flaws become life-threatening. The hull must stay watertight under pounding surf, and the propulsion system has to deliver steady thrust without overheating or fouling, all while carrying enough armor to defeat small arms and enough buoyancy to avoid sinking. These requirements collide because armor adds weight. Weight undermines swim performance, and every pound carried means a pound less for troops or ammunition. The 12 nautical mile rule and Sea State 3 threshold are the invisible hands shaping the ACV's form. They force compromises on everything from internal layout to the number of Marines that can ride inside. For the engineers and ship planners, the challenge is not just technical. It is a fight against the laws of physics, dictated by doctrine and the realities of modern warfare. The ACV-30 has an 8 Marine capacity, which stands in stark contrast to the 21 troops the old AAV could carry. This is not a matter of preference. It is a direct result of the turret's weight, the armor needed for survival, and the unforgiving physics of amphibious design. Every pound devoted to the remote weapon station and its 30mm cannon comes at the expense of space and buoyancy. The result is that a squad leader can only bring half his team ashore in one vehicle. For infantry commanders, this shapes how assaults are planned and how quickly forces can mass at the beachhead. The days of rolling a full squad plus attachments in a single armored hull are over. Instead, the ACV-30 demands tight coordination between vehicles, with squad elements split across multiple hulls. The trade-off is deliberate. The Marines gain a swimming gun platform that can deliver real fire support from the moment the ramp drops, but they give up the surge capacity that once defined the AAV's role. It is a tactical compromise, one that puts a premium on variant diversity and close teamwork between crews and squad leaders. The Marine Corps' answer to the AAV's limitations is not a single new vehicle, but an entire family built on a shared chassis. 4 core variants form the backbone of this approach. The ACVP, the personnel carrier, is the baseline, responsible for moving Marines from ship to shore and across the battlefield. The ACVC was delivered in its first production form in January 2024. It serves as a rolling command post, loaded with communications gear and battle management networks. The ACV-30, still ramping up for full-rate production, adds a 30mm cannon in a remote Kongsberg turret, transforming the platform into a direct fire support vehicle. Rounding out the lineup, the ACVR is designed for recovery and field repairs, keeping the rest of the fleet moving in contested terrain. All 4 ride on the same 8x8 hull, a choice that simplifies logistics and training across the force. Program managers at Marine Corps Systems Command, working with BAE Systems and Kongsberg Defense, pushed for this modularity from the start. The logic is clear. A common platform means faster fielding, easier maintenance, and the flexibility to adapt as missions change. The first low-rate initial production contract was awarded in June 2018, marking the transition from prototype to procurement. Since then, each variant has hit its own milestone, with the ACVC delivery in January 2024 setting the pace for the rest of the family. For the Marines, this is not just a vehicle replacement, it is a BET on a new way to fight, with every variant playing a distinct role in the larger operational picture. The ACV-30's lethality comes from a weapon and sensor suite that pushes the limits of what an amphibious vehicle can carry. Its heart is the Mark 44 Bushmaster II, a 30mm chain gun mounted in a Kongsberg remote weapon station. This turret is not just a gun box, it is a fully stabilized, two-axis system that lets the gunner engage moving targets while crossing rough surf or bouncing over inland terrain. The cannon feeds from a 300-round armored magazine below the crew, with blowout panels to shield the Marines inside if ammunition cooks off. Every round is ready for rapid selection, armor-piercing, high explosive, or programmable airburst, depending on the threat. Sensors are layered for all conditions. A day camera, a thermal imager, and a laser rangefinder feed data to the fire control computer, while the commander's independent sight offers panoramic surveillance. The gunner and commander work as a team, linked by digital networks that cue targets and synchronize fires with other vehicles or external command posts. This is not a prototype's promise, but a fielded system, built to fight from the surf line to the far side of the beach. Test engineers put the ACV-30 through a battery of trials that pushed the platform to its limits. In the production representative test phase, the cannon's fire control system achieved a 92% first-round hit rate against moving targets at 2 kilometers, a number that speaks less to technical trivia and more to what it means for Marines facing threats across open ground. Survivability testing was just as unforgiving. The hull withstood a 6-kilogram TNT blast directly beneath the centerline, with no breach of the crew compartment and injury risk kept below the Marine Corps Level 2 threshold. These results are not promises on a spec sheet. They are validated by live fire and blast events, measured and confirmed by government test teams. For the Marines, each successful trial is more than a milestone. It is proof that the absurdly ambitious requirements, swimming, fighting, surviving, are now met by a single vehicle, not a paper concept. Right now, the Marine Corps is fielding not a wish list, but a necessity. An amphibious gun platform built because the old fleet can no longer survive the fight. The ACV-30 is a $1.7 billion wager on future battlefields, where absurd requirements are simply baseline reality. What would you demand in its place?